Another 49ers practice in the books. This one was special because trade acquisition Skyy Moore made it into the building, passed his physical, and actually joined the 49ers on the practice field in time to even take a couple snaps. First, we saw Skyy Moore after the media camera period had closed. That's why we don't have footage of him, but he was working with Dustin Perry, 49ers head trainer, on the side. Then Leonard Hankerson, the 49ers wide receivers coach, gave Skyy a crash course on a few plays. And then during team drills, Skyy Moore was in there for at least 2 snaps, although the ball very predictably did not go his way. One of those plays, though, was a pretty big gain for the 49ers. Skyy Moore and George Kittle were off on one side, and maybe they were decoys on the play, but Brock Purdy threw back across the grain, found Luke Farrell, the tight end, for a big gainer. We will see more of Skyy Moore here on Saturday when the 49ers take on the Chargers, and Trey Lance starts for Jim Harbaugh's team at Levi's Stadium. That is official, by the way. Trey will be starting against the 49ers here on Saturday. All right, a look at what happened at practice today, starting with Tanner Mordecai back with the football team. The 49ers cut Nate Sudfeld, brought back Mordecai, probably because they feel Mordecai is more ready to take some snaps for San Francisco in a game on Saturday. Here are the defensive linemen led by Nick Bosa and company pounding the sleds. This is my favorite part of practice. I always like going to this corner of the field, seeing the 49ers defensive linemen get after it. You need the get-off speed here to make Chris Kasarik happy. And then you also need some violence as you do hit those sleds. Many more 49ers defensive linemen now on the practice field than just a few days ago. They did return Robert Beal Jr. to practice today. Nice news for the 49ers. Individual look at Nick Bosa during the early special teams period. Bosa working on some of his pass rushing skills. Nick is, I think he's primed for a big year, and I think he's going to have some help from the other side in Bryce Huff. Alfred Collins in that rep. 49ers, a little extra work there with Alfred Collins, the rookie out of Texas. But Chris Kasarik ended up being happy with the rep. He was screaming tight, tight, tight over the course of that drill. He wanted guys to have nice compact hand movement, nothing all too elongated. And I think that's one of the big challenges for Alfred Collins. He is a tall guy, and I think the 49ers have been happy with some of the progress that he has been making over the course of this training camp, technique-wise, doing things the way that Chris Kasarik wants so that he can have the best chance of success in an NFL game. Big opportunity again coming on Saturday for Alfred Collins to continue acclimating to this professional style of play. So this was the 49ers' final practice before the last preseason game, which is coming up on Saturday. Tomorrow they're going to have a walkthrough, and based on watching today, I think it was very clear that the 49ers are ready to start competing more regularly against other teams in the regular season. There was a little testiness toward the end of practice. Fred Warner and Colton McKivitz went face-to-face, started shoving a little bit. It wasn't a fight, but there was like a 3-play stretch there where 49ers running backs went to the ground. Once was Christian McCaffrey, once was Kyle Juszczyk, but they were, I don't know if they were tackled to the ground, but maybe there was a little extra contact from the defense, and I don't think that it made Colton McKivitz all too happy. And I think that Fred Warner took exception to Colton's complaints, and you could just feel some of the tension in the air there at the end of practice. So long story short, these guys have been practicing against their own teammates for quite some time now. Season opener is on September 7th in Seattle. This was the first game planning week for the 49ers, although it was still just dress rehearsal mode. Still a lot of training camp vibes in the air, training camp heat in the air here in Santa Clara. Just know that the competitive juices are flowing and the roster cut down is coming. I think that kind of contributes to the tension in the air as well. For example, today, Jeff Wilson Jr. dropped the pass on a swing play out of the backfield. And the very next play was a run for Jeff. And it was a good run, but after the run, he took the football and just spiked it in anger into the ground. Obviously still frustrated about his drop the play prior. There was another really interesting play today where Brock Purdy found Ricky Pearsall. Beautiful pass, corner of the end zone, red zone work. Looked like a touchdown, but the official said, no, you're out of bounds. Didn't get both feet in. So then Jair Brown, who was the closest in coverage on the play, started chirping a little bit in Ricky Pearsall's direction. It was playful, and Ricky Pearsall playfully threw the ball over toward Jair Brown. It wasn't a malicious peg or anything, but you could tell Ricky was a little bit annoyed that Jair Brown was letting him know that the officials ruled that play incomplete. Stuff like that happening back and forth today at 49ers practice. More excellent throws from Brock Purdy. It really just seems like one after the other. And I've given you my overarching take on training camp. The 49ers are going to need to score a lot of points, I think, especially early in this season as this defense rounds into form. And that's going to be most incumbent on their quarterback, on Brock Purdy, who today, probably the best throw was to George Kittle. It was over Saran Neal, the specialist who's getting some reps at nickel and cornerback. It was a 2-minute drill situation for the 49ers at the end of practice. And the play was such that there was a very, very small window, which would have to be attained through some elevation on the throw. It was kind of a corner route from Brock Purdy. And he put that football exactly where it had to be. It was the rainbow arc over Saran Neal. It got the football down in time so that Kittle could get both feet in bounds near the sideline. I mean, this was impressive stuff, and I think that we've seen a lot of these types of throws from Brock Purdy over the course of training camp. Another big gainer early on for Robbie Chosen. He made a few catches today. You heard John Lynch talking about Robbie Chosen on KMBR this morning. 49ers thin in that receiving room. So, you know, if worst comes to worst and you don't have Jawan Jennings, you don't have Jordan Watkins, you don't have Jacob Cowing at the start of the season, you start to turn to some of these guys on the team right now who have NFL experience like Robbie Chosen. And Kyle Shanahan yesterday said that the GPS trackers actually say that, or it might have been John Lynch actually, they say that Robbie Chosen is running some of the fastest times on the team. 4.3 guy 10 years ago coming out of Temple. I don't think that he was in great shape last year with the 49ers, and I think the 49ers are probably judging it by some of his GPS times. This year with the 49ers, after spending last season with the Miami Dolphins, Robbie Chosen is running a whole lot faster, and I think it's evidenced through some of these big plays that he's been delivering on the practice field. Today's initial crosser that turned into a big play was on a throw from Carter Bradley. Purdy to Pearsall, Purdy to Pearsall, Purdy to Kittle. Look at my notes there. And then Isaiah Hodgins made a catch. This was from Tanner Mordecai, who's probably going to see considerable amount of action on Saturday because I don't expect the 49ers to be running all too many starters out there. This is going to be more of a proving grounds kind of game ahead of August 26th. And I think the 49ers are running a lot of roster shuffles right now, depth shuffles on the practice field in order to best facilitate determination on some of these bubble spots. For example, Saran Neal is going to make the team, right? Heard Brant Boyer talk about him today, special teams Pro Bowler. But we're seeing Saran Neal not in on first team special teams reps. It's because his spot's already sealed for San Francisco. So what the 49ers are trying to do is take a look at some of the true bubble players. Like who's going to make this roster? Who isn't going to make this roster? Special teams is often a very big determinant, and that's how they're running this practice. That's how they're going to run the game on Saturday against the Chargers. So it's going to be a lot of guys hungry to make spots on this roster, also to qualify for the practice squad. Don't forget that even after the cut down, the next day is going to be a big day for the 49ers as far as filling out the rest of the 70-man team. It's a 17-man practice squad, including the international exception, and that's probably going to be Isaac Alarcon. So there's going to be a lot of competitiveness there for some spots that still have to be assigned, and it's all going to happen with Trey Lance as the Chargers quarterback starting on the other side back here at Levi's Stadium. Don't forget, Navarro Bowman is the Chargers linebackers coach. So Harbaugh, Lance, Bowman, all those guys back here at Levi's over the course of this weekend. Juszczyk made a catch today where Tatum Bethune thudded him up. I think Bethune, we don't talk about him as much because he's playing so within himself. So there's not really some of these crazy misses followed by spectacular plays that Somebody like Nick Martin he's going through that roller coaster. Tatum Bethune, the second-year linebacker, has just quietly been making tackles in the right spot, looks like a vet. 49ers say that he's mature beyond his years at that linebacker position. Today he thudded up Kyle Juszczyk. Chase Lucas, another pass breakup. You know, we talk about the nickel situation. One of the low-key concerning injuries for the 49ers, at least from my point of view, is the calf injury to Upton Stout. And up until a couple weeks ago, before Stout stopped participating in practice, we were saying, okay, this guy is on track to be a week 1 starter for the 49ers at that nickelback position. Obviously, he's not on that kind of track while he's on the sideline. Good thing for San Francisco is that Chase Lucas has performed as well as he has over the course of this training camp and now these 2 preseason games. Lucas, another pass breakup for San Francisco today, and I think that could be the 49ers option at that nickelback position. Saran Neal, I think, could be a backup there, and I think Saran is going to make this team due to special teams. But Chase, he was a gunner for the Detroit Lions before he came over to the 49ers, so I think that he's got special teams value as well. And Brant Boyer is definitely going to have some say in how this final 53-man roster is constructed. I mean, the Skyy Moore trade probably made the 49ers stronger in that regard as well, because Moore is an established punt returner in this league, and he's a dual returner, right? He could return both kicks and he could return punts, and that's going to be important, and I think they're going to toss Moore into both of those roles on Saturday night here. Those are obviously very important, but it's how he can help bridge the gap right now for the 49ers at receiver, given all those injuries. That is going to be very, very important on the offensive side of the ball. Looking through some more stuff. Ooh, Tariq Owens had a tough drop today. They put Tariq in. He had an opportunity on the 2-minute drive at the end, and Purdy lasered in a really good football that should have split the corner and the safety. It might have been a little alligator arm situation for Tariq Owens. Was not able to make the catch. Maybe they keep him around on the practice squad for some more developmental time if they think that the ceiling is truly there. But, a lot of people have been asking me about it. I don't think that Tariq Owens is a legitimate option for the 49ers 53-man roster. Saw Jake Moody miss a kick for the first time in a while at practice. He'd been on a hot streak here at practice. I know he missed from 53 against the Raiders before all the heroics there at the end of the game, but he missed today from 40-something, maybe close to 50, and then missed another one. This one was off the upright. That one was from 50-plus. Still, after practice, Brant Boyer spoke, and he was talking about the game, and he said, that one could change the course of Jake Moody's career, especially like the fact that he bounced back from the missed 53-yarder, fought through some adversity to deliver big for the 49ers at the end. Isaac Guerendo had a nice run today. Remember that Guerendo is back. I think the 49ers might still be on the running back market. We've heard that they have some interest in Brian Robinson Jr., more of a power back, more of an interior back. He's with Washington right now. Remember that nearly 1,200 players around the league are going to be cut on the 26th. The Skyy Moore trade was already related to that, right? Because Skyy would have likely been cut by the Chiefs, but the 49ers wanted to get him in now. As you could tell, there's a sense of urgency to get him onto the practice field today so he could take a couple reps before the evaluation period of the game, but they wanted him sooner than the cut down. They didn't want to have to deal with the waiver wire process because even though they're higher up in the claim order, they're number 11 in the claim order due to the 6-11 finish last year, 10 teams ahead of the 49ers would have been able to claim Skyy Moore had they not traded for him, had he just been waived by the Chiefs. So the 49ers ensure that they get this guy in their building now, and that allows them to get a head start on the player perusal process that's going to be happening on August 26th. Again, 37 guys are going to be cut, either released or waived, from every single roster. So 37 times 32, that's nearly 1,200. That's how many players are going to become available on Tuesday. And for a 49ers team with a lot of injuries, looking to fill in the gaps at multiple different positions, that is very, very significant. And that spurs action on the trade front in case teams want to cut the line. Wouldn't be surprising if the 49ers were still eager to make some moves before this all happens on Tuesday. We had another wild tip drill reception at practice today, and the reason I bring this up is because there have now been 4 of them over the course of this training camp, which is absolutely wild to me. But this one was Brock Purdy to George Kittle, who was unable to catch the ball. Ball popped out of George Kittle's hands, but Demarcus Robinson made the catch and started running with the football. This comes a day after there was a pass that Robbie Chosen wasn't able to haul in, and Jake Tonjes, the tight end, caught it. And then about a week ago, we saw Kyle Juszczyk unable to make a catch, and we saw Dominic Pooney, the lineman, catch it and run in for a touchdown. So again, this has happened 4 times over the course of 49ers training camp. If you believe in luck and omens or whatever, well, maybe that might interest you. But maybe I would think that's the last time, or maybe the good luck for the offense comes in 5s. 49ers might need some good fortune offensively this year because they're going to be relying on that side of the ball to, again, like I've said, I took the train down here so we could say it, the locomotive that pulls the train. Another note on the roster, there's a lot of rotation for the 49ers defensively today. I think this is all part of the plan as they try to make final evaluations for that 53-man cut down on Tuesday. So somebody like Sebastian Valdez was getting some real first-team work late in practice for San Francisco. That's the Hulk, the rookie defensive lineman out of Washington. So maybe you just want to see him work against first-team O-linemen. And he's going to get some opportunities on Saturday, although probably not against the top of the Chargers roster. But we saw that, but then we saw a return to what had been the case about a week ago at the safety position. Jason Pinnock back in team drills. It seems that the primary brunt of first-team reps, even though I mentioned Jair Brown against Ricky Pearsall earlier, the primary brunt of first-team reps at safety are being divided by Jason Pinnock and Marquise Siegel, which goes back to what I've been saying this whole time. Robert Saleh wants traits-based safeties. Out of the available players for the 49ers right now, Pinnock and Siegel definitely fit that bill the most. Now, Jair Brown is getting in there with the first team. He was in there with the first team for all of practice when Pinnock was unavailable to go in those team drills. A lot of people will say, okay, well, what does that mean for Jair Brown? Well, the 49ers are going to ship him off to Steve Wilks with the New York Jets. And to that I say, right now, Malik Mustafa is still out on PUP, right, with the ACL. And the 49ers also don't have Richie Grant, who's been sidelined out of practice. So they're a little hurting when it comes to safety depth. And I think it's harder to justify trading away veteran depth like a Jair Brown while guys like that are injured and you don't have that depth. But maybe when the 49ers do collect themselves at safety, maybe that is a surplus, right? Because I will say for sure that Pinnock and Marquise Siegel have seemed higher up on the depth chart than a Jair Brown. All right, that is the report. Skyy Moore, part of this football team now. Tanner Mordecai back. He's going to play on Saturday, and Trey Lance is going to be here at Levi's. It's your instant reaction. You can help out by hitting the sub button and also by hitting the alarm bell and also by commenting. Let me know what you want to hear when it comes to a 53-man roster projection. Comment that. I will respond with some really good video content. We'll see you soon from the helmet.